This is the recorded lecture on skeletal muscle contractions, contraction types, and the different ways that we use skeletal muscle. So we're going to start with the concept that skeletal muscles rarely work as one single twitch. We did the previous lecture, and in the experiments, a lot of it was one action potential, one twitch. But most of our actions are not actually only one twitch. An eye blink is an example of something that is one twitch. It contracts, it relaxes really fast. Most of our actions involve more than one twitch and involve different types of contractions. So there's more than one action potential happening. So we have summation in skeletal muscle, much like we had summation in neural, but it's a little different. Here, the temporal summation is still over time, multiple stimuli, now to the same motor unit. So it's the axon of the multipolar neuron that has multiple action potentials in rapid succession. Remember that we can do that within a couple milliseconds. And what we're after is the effect called tetany. Now, tetany is not the disease tetanus. Tetany means to hold a sustained contraction, holding up an object, holding up your arms. So what we mean by tetany is we contract and we hold a held contraction. So that it's about frequency. Versus spatial summation in skeletal muscle is the activation of more and more motor units. We're increasing the overall number of cells involved. And this is going to increase the force generated by the muscle, and it leads to something called recruitment. An example of this is to go from, say, walking to jogging to running, or the necessary force to pick up something very lightweight versus the force to pick up something very heavy. You have to recruit more muscle to pick up something that's very heavy. So this is the difference. Temporal and spatial summation is about the motor unit, not just a single dendrite. So in tetany, temporal summation, I drew this graph. We see force over time. The key here is that here was the one twitch, and then here's twitches closer together faster, and we get unfused twitch. This is where something vibrates, but it's not being put down. And finally, when we get high enough frequency, what we see is all these little arrows I'm drawing are close enough together, pardon me, to create fused tetany. And it's all about the calcium. Calcium is flooding the cell and maintaining the contraction. These stimuli are close enough together that before the calcium can be pumped out, more calcium is released. An example of this is you pick up an object and you hold it in place. A lot of times I use a box example or my water bottle example, holding up the object. Spatial, on the other hand, is recruitment, the addition of more and more motor units to increase force. So maybe this was 3, this is 5, this is 7, where we're adding more and more force so that we get a stronger contraction. So when we see recruitment, we see that there's an order to it. It's not just random which motor units are being activated. This is based on the size of the cell, the smallest first, then the medium size, then the largest, which also corresponds to the metabolism. These smallest cells are also called slow oxidative. Sometimes you'll see it called a type 1 cell. Slow oxidative means it has slow myosin and it has oxidative metabolism. So that we'll see those characteristics. Medium, on the other hand, are these fast oxidative, sometimes called type 2A or 2A. It doesn't matter which way you write your 2, Roman number or standard. They're about medium size. They have a faster myosin. They still keep the oxidative metabolism. And then the largest ones are these fast glycolytic, which are called type 2B or 2B, depending on how you wish it. So they have the fastest myosin, and they use a lot of glycolysis, which is why they are so large. And I gave the example here of walk to jog to run, the amounts of muscle used to pick up something light versus something heavy. So when you need more force, you recruit more cells. If you want to hold the object up, that is when you hold tetany.